This demonstration will introduce you to the graphical user interface of the Constraint Manager. There are several different ways to fire off the Constraint Manager. Under the Setup menu, there is a Constraints subfolder that you can go right into several different domains. We'll talk about most of these domains real quickly. There's also just a standard Constraint Manager fire off, and also we can use the standard icon, Constraint Manager icon. This is the Constraint Manager User Interface that you'll be coming to work with. It has three basic sections that we want to concentrate right now. We have the domain section to the left. We have the right side, which is where you'll be doing and entering all your data. And then we have the status bar down at the bottom. On the left side, we have first our domains. There's an electrical domain, which is where you'll set rules for doing items such as length rules, propagation delays, differential rules, things like that. We'll spend most of our time in the electrical domain. There are rules, we'll go quickly, for physical domain, where you set rules such as line widths. The spacing domain, where you set rules for like line to line, air gap. There are same net spacing domain rules for like when we're setting rules for our blind and buried vias. There's a properties domain. You can set properties on nets and components. This is basically just a different way of doing the edit properties command. And there's a DRC domain. This domain is basically a graphical view only of DRCs. And the only way to fix DRCs are to go into the design itself and fix the problems. Let's take a little closer look at the domains, primarily the first four domains. If we go into the electrical domain, you'll see that we have folders at different levels. Inside each folder, we will have some workbooks, and inside workbooks, there will be worksheets. The folders that we're interested in are the constraint set folder and the net folder. Each of the electrical, physical, and spacing, and same net spacing, will have a constraint set folder and then net folders. Basically what we want to do is set the rules that we want the system to follow in the constraint set folder, and then we will apply those rules to the nets within the net folder. The right side of the Constraint Manager User Interface is where you'll be setting the rules and the values. So it's important to get an understanding of this. If we go back to the electrical domain, in the routing workbook, you'll see there are several worksheets under here. When you look in here in the right side, you'll see types and objects that you'll be working with. The first row will always be the actual design. So this is the design that I've currently opened up. Since we're in the electrical domain, in the electrical constraint set folder, we now have electrical constraint sets that we have defined that exist inside my design. These are the names of the actual rules I created. When you get into the net folder, where we're going to apply these, all the different objects will appear down here. Different objects can be buses, differential pairs, X nets, pin pairs, and so on. What we'll see to the right of the objects is the first column will typically be the referenced electrical C set. That's the electrical C sets that we defined back up in the top portion. And these are the names that are applied to this object. After the reference C set, then you will have all of the different values that have been assigned for that different type of object. For example, if we go into our differential pair electrical constraint set, you can see I have created two rules for a 75 ohm and a 90 ohm differential pairs. These are the rules I'm going to follow. We'll talk about differential pair rules later on. If I come down to the differential pair under the net folder, I can see where I have applied some of these rules. When you're working in the right side, sometimes when you're looking at fields, you may see yellow fields. Typically, yellow fields designate one of two items. First, for most electrical rules, the net must be completely routed or the object must be completely routed before it can determine whether a rule has been violated or not. The other option could be that what we call the DRC mode is not turned on. If we move our mouse over the right field and we look down the status bar, we'll see that it says the DRC analysis mode is not on. So we need to turn on the actual rule checking. We can go to Analyze, Analysis Modes, and we'll notice that our differential pair checks are now off. So let's turn our differential pair checks on. And now we can see actual values in here. And again, like you're used to seeing, green is good, red is bad. This one differential pair has a problem. If we expand this differential pair, we can analyze that, do a right mouse button, analyze, to get all the actual values of what's going on here. What we had in this case was we wanted the uncoupled length to be 500 between the two pairs, two nets of the pair, and they actually was at 648. We'll talk about uncoupled length later on when we get into differential pairs. So again, always pay attention to the status bar. As you move your mouse over cells, the status bar will change to tell you what objects are there or what the rules are. It will also give you an update as to what the current DRC mode is. This concludes our demonstration on the Constraint Manager Graphical User Interface.